It's the second and final day of the UN's World Humanitarian Summit here in Turkey. 177 countries are being represented at the Istanbul summit. The UN Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon says the event has been years in the making and the situation in the world has only worsened since the summit was first planned. TRT World's Natasha Exelby is there for us. Natasha,
Marlene, a conference of this size is always going to court some criticism, and in this particular case, some people have been critical of the fact that this may in fact just be a talk fest and that nothing will eventuate from it. Well, now that we are nearing the second day of this conference, then people who have been a part of these meetings are now able to really make a decent assessment of whether that is indeed the case. And our next guest is going to do just that. I'm joined now by Adriano Campolino from Action Aid. Adriano, something that you have been critical of is the grand bargain deal. What are your main problems there?
Our assessment is that this conference was an important opportunity. It's the first ever conference on humanitarian, and it had an opportunity ahead of it to really make fundamental change on the humanitarian system. Unfortunately, as we see important pledges coming forward, we did not see enough commitment to some fundamental issues, such as the role and the support that women need, women and girls, in relation to humanitarian. So that was the first step in the right direction, but we are not sure if that step was deep and fast enough.
Well, as a woman, I'm certainly not in the habit of spitting in the face of the sisterhood, but this money wasn't directly aimed at men either. How is it different if it's just one for all? Why make this a sex issue?
There's a fundamental issue here, both in terms of how the communities are organized themselves in a situation of emergency, as well as how the system is. So when an emergency hits a community, and I saw that in Nepal recently, as well as in Zimbabwe just a month ago, or in many places in the world where we work, we see that the people that are most affected are women and girls. But secondly, the people that have the most crucial responsibility on helping the community to organize themselves and to come back into a situation of rebuilding their lives are also women. So if they are not prioritized from the very beginning, from the design to the assignment of resources, they will not be sufficiently supported to play that substantive role. But secondly, we also see that the humanitarian system as a whole is very male-dominated, and men, unfortunately, tends to turn a blind eye and not see that fundamental contribution. So unless we make that commitment to women and girls absolutely crucial at the center of the response, that's just not going to happen.
So you're saying that women are often better or play a more dominant role in reacting to things like natural disasters?
Yeah, they do play a fundamental role on reacting to that, as well as they are the most affected. If you look at any displaced population, 1 at every 5 women that are displaced are subject to violence, to sexual-based violence and gender-based violence.
So in terms of actual tangible actions on the ground, what needs to come from this summit?
Now, we need the summit to prioritize the resources towards women organizations. Every local humanitarian
But in terms of actual funding or what can be done on the ground?
Exactly, in terms of funding. The funding has to be towards and earmarked to women's organizations so they can organize the response by themselves at local level. Most of the resources today, they end up concentrated at the wrong place. Secondly, we also need to focus on the kind of activities that ensure a safe space for women, both to be protected as well as to exert their leadership on developing and responding to humanitarian situations.
And you feel that the summit has not significantly addressed this?
I think the summit had a very positive aspect on that. They have not yet addressed it. However, the women as the first responders have come forward to the summit as a new stakeholder in the system. And I think that stakeholder is going to transform the entire humanitarian system, and that's why Action Aid work with them as a priority.
You say they haven't addressed it yet. Well, there's only a few hours left of this summit. Do you think that it is an issue that will be seen to?
From what we can see so far, the conversation has started. The importance of having women and girls is one of the objectives, and we welcome that. However, the level of commitment in terms of resourcing is yet to come. And we will continue, as this is just a first step, we will continue to work, ActionAid and various partners, towards making, number one, those pledges to become real, and secondly, to also expand the commitment to women and girls in situations of emergencies.
Adriano Campolino from ActionAid, thank you so much for joining us. And Marlene, there is just a few more hours of these talks to go. We have heard some promising things from many of the people we have spoken to, but I guess it will be time that will tell whether this summit is indeed a success.
Okay, Natasha, many thanks for that. Natasha X will be there at that summit here in Istanbul.